First of all, so excited to have my beautiful wife Terry traveling. So guys, stand up. See, this is like a dream coming true as we're experiencing it. You guys are witnessing one of our dreams coming true because just a few months ago, Terry retired from about a 27-year, I guess, real estate career, being a broker and a team leader in sales. Her whole life's been real estate. And we kind of always talked about one day, you'll come and work for the family business. And it was always one day, and then finally, God just worked it out where it was like, it was time and we knew it. And so now, instead of me being out there going around the country doing crazy stuff, I get to have a manager. Always wanted me a manager. It's just cool. My manager. Actually, she's been managing me ever since we've been together. We just put her on the payroll. That was basically what that is. So.
I should be getting back pay, but I'm not.
You see what I'm talking about? Y'all see what I'm talking about. But you guys have just adopted us in. And so we have all these little, churches all over the place that have kind of brought us in for a couple months. And we get all these cool relationships and get a great relationship with your leaders. And it's cool. And it really is kind of it must have been, it's a little taste of what Paul might have felt. Because in this ministry, which I didn't really choose it, it kind of chose me and then it's very, very much like Paul's ministry. It's not in the same place. It's going out into areas of ministry that, a lot of our churches haven't done. Whenever you get invited back to Jerusalem, it's usually because you're in trouble. That was nervous laughter. It's okay, you can laugh. No, he's out there on the run, a lot of times he's got a little band of brothers around him and he's, just trying to figure it out as the Spirit leads him because there was no textbook for it. There's no program for it. And that's what's so cool about the Holy Spirit is he will call you into an area that answers a lot of your prayers. Did you get that? It's like you're praying for things, whether it be a character change or a lifestyle or your partner, your soulmate, or things your kids are going through, or our finances, just this thing called life. And all of a sudden, it can be, you're praying for all these things, and then God, the Holy Spirit leads you into something that's going to enrich all those areas, and usually it's not the most comfortable way. Yeah. Would you agree? It's not always that comfortable. But I want to thank you for you've helped us grow over the last 7 weeks, just being involved with you. So I always say that we're going to get the most out of this. And you're going to it's true. I'm so true. It's true. So I want to introduce you. It's not the stick, bro. I know, man. What's your name, bro? Tim and I are forever connected. And the coolest guy in the whole room sitting next to you right there, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, very much. What's your name, bro? Evan? Gavin, even better than Evan. I like Gavin. All right, Gavin.
They have an Evan. We have 5 kids, so you're running against
You're being honest right now, aren't you? Okay. Tim and Evan and Gavin. It's Roots. It's not Root. Okay, we've equally offended one another. We can move. Nah, I'm just joking, bro. I'm just totally joking. Okay, thank you. No, but this is Roots, all right? And, I introduced it to you virtually, but Roots is an extension of me. And is a part of our family. You know what I'm saying? Today, several times, Terry's like, where's Roots? She's always looking out because I'll leave him somewhere, and then we'll find our way back to him. But anyway, if I'm in a prison, Roots is with me. If I'm in a school, which is a whole lot, I got Roots. The players love him. They think there's magic to him. They touch him coming out of the tunnel in football. I got a request from Kennesaw State University, which is the biggest university in Georgia, the state of Georgia, from their basketball program saying, "Is Roots available on March the 7th?" I'm like, I might be, and I could bring Roots. They believe he's got 2 state championship rings, and really should have 3, but that team did not give me a ring, and so it must have been something I didn't do. But anyway, 3 rings, asterisk, but I have 2 rings, but they're really for Roots, man. And so anyway, he's going to be with me, corporate gig, preaching. Man, he's my partner here, and his name Roots because of the gentleman that created him for me. 2013, and my buddy Roots signed it, and it became this beautiful symbol of our work. And so the kids know it as, if I say, "What's his name?" they yell, "Roots," and I say, "What's he mean?" and they say, "Potential." Potential, which is a powerful word, but you think about it. It's the tomorrow that has not been yet, that can be a lot of different things. It's the trip that you haven't been on. It's the song you haven't written. It's that book that you believe is inside of you. It's that career change that you've been mulling over for a long time. It's the relationship that you're trying to attract and hasn't shown up yet. You know what I'm saying? It's what could be. But as I ask the kids, is potential positive or negative? What would you say? If I have a hammer, I can build a house or I can hit somebody with it. It's like the hammer is not positive or negative. It's the potential of how it can be used. And so, I know that was kind of a gruesome, wasn't it? A little bit. My bad. I'll change it for the next one. So anyway, if I hold him up and say, "What is it?" what would you describe him as? A what? A stick? A what? Would you say a cane? A staff? A rod? A walking stick? There you go. It can be a talking stick. There's a lot of things that, and I've asked thousands of people that, like real number, and you know what? Not one person has ever said a branch. Well, fundamentally, is that not a branch? Yeah, but you don't see the branch. You just see the finished product. You don't see the journey that this broken branch has been through to get to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. In the same way that we just see the outside of one another. And maybe you've been around one another for a while, maybe even years, maybe even decades. But at the end of the day, do I ever know what's going on in your mind? Really, really, really? No, not unless you express it with me. So, I mean, we dress up real good, but I have no idea the journey that brings Gavin before me right now. But I bet it's fascinating. You know what I'm saying? Every one of us have this journey, but you don't see the journey. You see the kind of the finished product. And so the reason I named Roots, we were working downtown Atlanta and in a tough little part of town called Lakewood. And it's a very underserved community, and we're doing like gang prevention, gang intervention stuff with youth. And so we're serving down there, and there's this cool to death little guy. He's smaller than me, much darker than me, dreads, cool beard, rock star glasses, missing a stem. And they called him Roots. And Roots lived on the streets. He didn't have a place to stay. He was a substance abuse problem, which I share with my brother Roots, right? And so you wouldn't have looked at him and said, "Oh man, that guy's on the street." He was, resourceful and hardworking, and he made friends with me. And he'd just be around, and Roots would be like, "How can I help?" And we put a little money in his pocket. And then he was always coming up saying, "Brother Kit, you need a stick." And I'd be like, "Why?" And he said, "Because these streets, you need protection if you're going to work down here." And I said, "How do I get one?" And he said, "I'll hook you up." And that was his hustle. That's what he did. Every single one of us bring a hustle to the party tonight. Like, are you a hustler? You're like, "Can we say that?" I'm like, see, a hustler. Yeah. I can look around and I can see, David, he's a hustler. I know that's right. And see, but in my, that's a compliment. A hustler's not good or bad. It's like, man, you hustle. You take what you've been given and you come and you give it, and you bring things that nobody else has. Now, it can be a hustle where you make a little income. It can be whatever, but it's like Roots was an artist, and nobody saw him. Like, did you hear that? Nobody saw him. All they saw was the outside. They just saw the broken branch. They didn't see the beauty inside, which is the good stuff in every single one of us. And when I find out that you've got a story, like you've been through some stuff, the world might look less at you. In my book, it's like, no, my respect goes way up when I know you've been through some stuff. If I want to go into battle with somebody, you think I want some little cupcake youth pastor? No disrespect to youth pastors. I'm just saying, I don't want that little soft. I want somebody that's been through some wars, man. Let's go. We'll ride together. You know what I'm saying? You my guy? All right. I will see you after class. I want to know you. Yep. And so that's kind of, it's the story as I lead into our lesson for tonight. It's the story of the broken branch.
Looks like a vine.
It does, doesn't it? Look at there. There you go. You like that? So it was a branch in the top of a 100-year-old oak tree downtown Atlanta. And I don't know if it was a storm or if it was a lightning strike or an axe, but something brought this branch, knocked it out of its life purpose. And in the amount of time it took to fall from the sky to the ground, it became trash. Because that's what we do with broken branches. I mean, we got great big old oak trees, and I don't go out in the yard and go, a treasure, another one. It's like, no, you just get them all piled up and you put them aside. And yet, so this is a nasty branch laying on the road. And everybody else saw trash, but not Roots. Roots saw it for what it could be, potential. It was the branch that would become an instrument of peace and a symbol of potential that would go on a world tour. Now, I lost my brother Roots on December 27th, 2020. And he had gotten a place, and he had gotten a little job, and he had gotten a scooter. And on December 27th, 2020, he was riding home on his scooter from his job, and a drunk driver hit him and killed him. Now, what's interesting is my sobriety date is December 27th, 2005. So we're forever connected. But then I got this, and he has no idea the people he's inspired with his hustle, with his special gift. You have one too. Okay, so tonight, like I've been doing, I just want you to listen. And this is the conclusion, but James, I was so excited that there's some people that are like, man, give me another 40. That's why I put the 10 lines at the end, another 40 days, is to go ahead and pick it up and now just make it your own. Do whatever. Write your own journal, your own book, or keep doing this one, whatever you like. But this one, it says, as Jesus, this in Luke 8, as Jesus was on his way, the crowds almost crushed him. And a woman was there who had been subject to bleeding for 12 years, but no one could heal her. She came up behind him and touched the edge of his cloak, and immediately her bleeding stopped. Who touched me? Jesus asked. When they all denied it, Peter said, Master, the people are crowding and pressing against you. But Jesus said, someone touched me. I know that power has gone out from me. Then the woman, seeing that she could not go unnoticed, came trembling and fell at his feet. In the presence of all the people, she told why she had touched him and how she had been instantly healed. Then he said to her, Daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in peace. This woman, 12 years of suffering, and it was some sort of blood disorder, which was an automatic separation because of the laws, the Hebraic laws. And so it says she had spent all she had on doctors, and there's several accounts, 2 accounts of this. And so she had spent everything she had, and yet she didn't get better. It just got worse. Now, we all have something like that. It doesn't have to be a physical ailment. It could be a family crisis that we did not ask for. It could be a divorce. It could be a physical ailment or a tragedy. It could be a child that you're scared to death about. It could be something that's a character issue, a moral defect, a sin nature kind of stronghold. It can be a marriage that's kind of just growing cold. We all have something that it's like, man, that is my thing. And I've suffered with it for 12 years, 15 years, 20 years. Now, we're going to share about our marriage and our relationship tonight. And interestingly enough, 12 years we struggled. Like 12 years we struggled and went through a lot of stuff that we're going to share. And then, we just celebrated a couple months ago, 17. But it was in that 13th year, God began to do something. And we broke through strongholds. And so tonight is hope in action. So it's not hope a lot of times. It's just like, I hope it gets better. And we believe one day it's going to get better. Better times are on the way. It's going to show up. I'm going to get my offer, or I'm going to get whatever it is. It's just like hope is out there. And yet this 6 weeks, 8 weeks, we've been putting our hope into action. It's like, man, I'm going to get on my knees first thing every morning and say good morning. Like that's huge. Anybody that did it 40 days in a row, try not to do it tomorrow. Uncle G has already been wiring that thing up. You know what I'm saying? And so everything you do today is practicing for tomorrow. The things that he does the most, he masters. Okay, so now it's an act of submission. Writing down the things that you want that scare you a little bit. Come on, I don't know if that was powerful for anybody else, but when you see it, it's scary. It's like, ugh, I'm afraid to pray about this. Carrying it with you instead of forgetting in the morning, asking for signs. Anybody done that? Like, open my eyes, get my attention. If you pray that every day, show me yourself today. Let me hear something. Let me see something. Let me feel something. I don't care, get my attention today and show me that you're working all around me. Why not pray that every single day? But then as you review the things, the scary things, the things that we needed, the strongholds, it starts getting it in front of mind, and now it's time to start taking measurable action. It's like, I'm going to take an action step. I'm not just going to pray, God, heal my marriage. No, I'm putting together a plan, deliberate, intentional plan of action to start adding deeds to my faith, because we know the other is not even real. And then repent quickly, which is something that we've worked on a lot. And then gratitude. Bathe everything in gratitude. Your worries and your complaints and your struggles and your fears and your temptations and your distractions, bathe it in gratitude. And that's where miracles grow from, right? So here's this woman. She's tried everything. She ain't got another shot. It's the last stop on the block. And she has this huge idea. I mean, there were hundreds, thousands, whatever of people, and she's the only one that has this idea. She's stepping out of the box and doing something she's never done before. Have you ever done the same things over and over and you're wondering why nothing's changing? And you might blame it on him. It's like, how come you don't answer my prayers? And he's like, why don't you do something? I can't speak for him, but I know I feel like that sometimes. It's like, wow, I've been praying about this for so long. But it's like I'm not putting myself in position to receive what I'm praying for. Whose fault is that? He's like, he's always answering our prayers. So one last, and she goes, if I could just touch him, if I could just touch his cloak. Everybody's touching him. Everybody's trying. It's like a rock star. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he was the world's first rock star. And people are just trying to get a piece of him because of who he is. Some people are hungry, heard that they get fed. Some people are sick, heard they get healed. Some people just want to say, I was with him. Somebody heard he challenged the Pharisees. It was like this guy was different. But her whole thing was, if I just touch him, I'll get the healing and he won't even know. Think about that beautiful, simple faith. If I just touch him, you think about the power in a touch. So as everybody is touching him, there's nothing except for, he's making his way. He's seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting. It was just like humanity around him. And all of a sudden, there's one touch amongst 100, and it gets his attention, turns his head. And he said, who just touched me? And Peter's like, come on, Lord, who didn't touch you? And he's like, nuh-uh, someone touched me in a different way. And the way I know it is power came out from me. Okay, so now I'm just imagining. Have you ever tried to imagine the eyes of Jesus? Just his eyes. The eyes are the window to the soul, the lamp of the body. And I can't imagine his eyes, but I want you to just go behind the eyes, that he is filled with the most amazing light. Remember the transfiguration where they got to see a brightness they had never seen, and they didn't know how to explain it, describe it. It was just this unimaginable light. I want you to imagine you could kind of see behind his eyeballs, and he's just filled with this just molten lava power. And she touches him, and all of a sudden, it's just like, it just leaves him and fills her up. And then immediate, she knows she's healed. She knows. Like, have you ever known that you knew? Like, I'm changing. This is it. This is the one. Not to go back to the sophisticated excuses and go back to the way you used to live. But it's like, no, it's now or never. If I just touch him, I know that power will just, it'll burn everything out of me. Do you believe that's even possible? Like, for real. Come on now, let's just talk for real. Do you really believe that that's possible, or does that sound a little weird? You know, it feels a little weird a lot of times. Things that are outside of the box. Am I lying? God doesn't live in boxes. And there's so little we know about him because he just gave us the perfect, beautiful, divine, inspired scriptures, but that does not house him. He's just like, there's not a big enough word. And the ways that he works and the amazing ways he connected us, like imagine all around us every day, we are bumping into things and hearing things and seeing things that are all the answers to our prayers, yet most of the time we're just not hearing, not looking, because it's just another day, and it just gets so mundane. And it's not the church, it's not church's fault, but we're uninspirable. Because we've heard all the sermons, man. Come on, dude. We've read the book how many times? I could sing those songs we sang, and it brought back a lot of memories. We know the songs. You know the right lingo. Like Zizzy. Well, how you say y'all? Zinzy? Zin? What is it? Yins? Yinzy. If I want to put a little Southern on it. So she reaches him, and imagine a frail little woman who's already very, very sickly. She's catching elbows and moving and ducking and trying to get, she's got laser beam focus. I'll do whatever it takes today. Try to kill me because that's the only way you're going to stop me. Okay, if anybody in here gets to that point in time, it's like you're desperate, like her. If it's just like, no, I am single-minded, we're going to go to work on this thing, whatever's been holding you back for years or days or whatever it is. That's why we took that word and we said miracle. Put a miracle on it. And we snatched that word and made it our own, took it out of the Bible and said God still works. You call whatever you want to a miracle. It's when God gets involved in human affairs. I mean, it's like either everything's a miracle or nothing is. I believe life is a miracle. You just get involved in the game. It's so much about what we've been doing. She got the power, and Jesus called her daughter. Do a search and see how often that happens. I've been trying to convince you that Jesus not just has a special place in his heart, he adores broken people. He adores broken people. And we think that maybe not. He works for other people. Not somebody like me. He probably wouldn't even see me. That's why he sees you. Because he sees the one that nobody else sees. That's why the least of these are his people. The hungry, the thirsty, the naked, the stranger, the sick, and the prisoner. Those are his people. And he experienced every bit of that. And so he gravitated toward the broken. And so what we had, and I'm going to invite my beautiful wife up. Okay, so we had been married about... we got married in 2006. We met in 2005. Perfect. And tell them how we met.
We met on Match.com.
Yeah. Anybody want to be bold enough to say, so did we? Match.com? Whoa, y'all got, I'm telling you. Match.com. We hit Match.com before it was cool. It was scandalous. Like, you're on that? Because it was 2005. It was like you were walking around like that. It was like, so you didn't tell anybody, but now it's like the thing. But we were back then. And so what was it that got your attention?
Well, so on Match.com, there was this little thing that was called the wink. And so if somebody was interested in you, they could wink at you. And you could look at their profile or whatever, and you could wink back if you were interested in them. Well, he winked at me, and I just ignored it. And so about 2 weeks later, he winked at me again, and I'm like, oh, okay, let me look
giving up.
Let me see what this guy's all about. So I looked at his pictures, and they were horrible. I mean, his pictures on there were horrible. Like, you couldn't even see who he was or anything. He just, this guy around the fire with a big old cowboy hat on. It was just like, which he doesn't even own a cowboy hat. So
We didn't have cameras on our phone walk. We didn't have phones.
anyway, so then,
And I didn't get any pictures in the divorce. I didn't get any pictures in the...
it's my time.
Go ahead.
So anyways, then I started reading in his profile, and he liked a lot of the movies that I liked. We had a lot in common.
What was the
Heat.
Heat?
Anybody seen Heat?
De Niro, Pacino.
That's the movie that brought us together.
She knew I was cool because he...
So then after that, I winked back at him, and we started talking via email. I wasn't comfortable with giving him my phone number yet. And so then we had a date, and I broke it. Then we made another date, and I broke it.
It was cool. She was making me try hard.
Yeah. I wasn't really, I mean, at this point in time in my life, I was making really good money for myself. My kids were already grown and out of the house. So I was coming and going and doing whatever it was that I wanted to do. More than that.
Probably over 10 years
yeah.
been single.
Yeah. So, anyways, so that's how we met. That's how we got started.
And what was my move? First date.
Well, the first night we met, I knew immediately when I met him I was going to marry him. Immediately.
Oh.
Yeah, I did. Didn't know all the baggage that was coming with.
And I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to share. Okay, but anyway, so we have our little date. I walk you to the car, shake your hand.
Yeah, and I get in my car, and a couple of minutes later, I'm on my way home. He calls me and says, "You are gorgeous. When am I going to see you again?"
Come on,
And then,
now. Come on, brothers.
That was a Tuesday.
I mean, that's gay.
That was a Tuesday. We went out on Friday, and we've never been apart since.
That's true. That's true. Okay, so getting more serious though, it's like so. I don't know where that's coming from, but is that
You're loud.
okay? Well, we're good. Okay, so anyway, we had both done this before. Okay, so Terry had been single over 10 years. I was coming right out of one. And y'all, I've told my story, and you know that it was a public fall from grace, you know, with just about all my worst fears coming true. You know, just that wilderness, rock bottom experience that led to sobriety. But in that first year, I was still drinking, so it was like a whirlwind romance, man. Because I'm not like take a drink and wake up in handcuffs. I'm like Don Juan for a while until I'm not anymore. And so that was kind of how it was. But so mine was there's no good divorce. You know, nobody plans on it or wishes for it, and it's very harmful. And so anyway, I've removed a lot of shame that I felt from that because I had two little kids. You know, that when we got remarried in 2006, were what 9 and 6, 10 and 7, and so she was done raising kids. You know, grown.
Started all over again.
That's exactly right. And she's an incredible mom. But anyway, it's an overused word, but it's absolutely true. Terry is a survivor. Okay, she's a self-made, tough little woman that earned those stripes. Had the boys younger, and then got into a relationship that turned out to,
Be abusive.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
talk about that a little bit and the courage it took.
Well, I was young when I got married, so I was 18, and then a little over 19 when I had my first child. And right after I had my first child, he was only about 4 months old, my husband started. physically abusing me. And so it was, anyways, has anybody in here ever been in a physical?
Don't want to raise hands.
Yeah, you don't want to raise hands. But if you ever have, you know how difficult it is, and what it does to your self-esteem and what it does for your confidence. And so you keep just going down that road and thinking, every time he or she says, I'm sorry, I'm not going to do that again, I'm sorry, I'm not going to do that again, of course you hope that that's going to be the case.
What about when
And it
people
wasn't.
say, just leave? I mean,
And
very
when
simple,
people
but-
say just leave, now by the time I left, I had already had my second child, which was 4 months old, and I had had enough. I had absolutely had enough, and I did leave. And thank God for my parents. My parents were wonderful, wonderful, wonderful parents, and I was able to move back in with my parents for a short period of time until I could get my feet underneath me. Yeah.
And then, this is pretty cool too. I told you our dreams are coming true, and a lot of it is Terry now has a platform where she can speak about these things. But, it's not just when I was saying, why don't you just leave? Sometimes it's, oftentimes, unfortunately, it's like, and do what? She's got two little babies. I'm talking about she had babies back to back, right after 20
they were
and 21.
15 months apart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
I had gotten married really right out of high school. I didn't have any skills. I didn't, IT didn't exist back then. And there really weren't women in the workforce really still where I was and Warner Robins really was still not all that prevalent, And so where I was from, or where I am from, Warner Robins, there's the Robins Air Force Base, which I did not want to go to work on the base, which they probably never would have hired me in the first place because I didn't know how to do anything. Or you could work at a dealership and sell cars, which I didn't want to do that either. And so, like I said, it was really, really difficult. So I decided that I would go out on my own, move away from my mom and dad, and just try to do what it was that I needed to do to raise my boys. And I ended up on food stamps and welfare and Medicare, right? Because life is tough out there. And if you don't have any skills and you don't have a way to do things, then you can find yourself in a situation that you don't necessarily want to be in. And I didn't want to be in that situation for the rest of my life, and I didn't want my children growing up that way. So I decided that I was never going to be on food stamps, welfare, or Medicare again. And so my mom talked me into getting into real estate, and that was really how I began to feed and clothe and house myself and my children and created an independent life for us.
Awesome. Yeah, so when you... What I love about this, and what I love about her, she's tough. I mean, she is a warrior. She's done her life that way, whether it be surviving that or going out on her own, being tough. But think about, I've always said, when you want to tell your story, and we did a podcast recently, which you can, go to my YouTube and check out. We have a podcast called the Power Peace Podcast, but we delve deep into stuff, and we were talking about addiction. We both had our problems with alcohol and drugs, and we were teenagers. Mm-hmm. And got us into crazy things. So back there, I was trying to imagine, she's 3 years older than me, and in different places just tearing stuff up. I mean, it's the way God made us. She's a tough little cookie. But she took all of that. If you think about the part of your nature that you don't like, all of us have something that we're struggling with self-love about. And I've told you that, my big, kryptonite is my addiction, my addictive nature, and mental health. The mental health challenges, both things that I would have called curses, which you would have called this period of life, coming out of a physically and emotionally and mentally and verbally abusive relationship with two little babies, food stamps, welfare, Medicare, then getting a license and then building a life for yourself while you raise those. I mean, it's heroic. And it's really what it does is, one, I know what you're going to say, but do you have more respect or less respect when she just shared her vulnerability with you? More. Do you see that? the more story you've got and the struggle you've gotten through. I mean, with me, it was sexual abuse, when I was 14. And golly, that was my big secret most of my life. I'm like, man, I wouldn't want anybody to know that. But I just got took, like a lot of little boys and girls, by a cereal. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, that's why they're good, because they fool you and get you, and you're just a little boy, a little girl. That used to be something that was, I will never be open about that. But it's like, unfortunately, there's a lot of people who have been through situations, and we got to talk about stuff. And so I started being open about my addiction, open about that abuse, open about, the mental health challenges that wouldn't come my way until I was 40, But I feel like God chose us to be together way before we would ever find each other. But then the next phase of it is, okay, so 4 days before the biggest drinking night of the year, so December 27th, 2005, we've been dating for 9 months, and I've swept her off her feet. Well, whatever. That's the way I remember it. I get to remember things, my special little memories. So anyway, I decide, okay, I'm coming clean. I got to quit drinking. Like when you're ready to deal with your thing, whatever it is, you can't wait 4 more days and just go ahead and get January 1st behind you. And then I'm going to go to a meeting. I was like, baby, and I didn't completely let her in, but I let her in with more stuff. Like to the extent of my preaching career. I had so much shame in me. I didn't want her to know that I was a fallen preacher. So I kept that from her for months and months and months of this new relationship. Maybe I'm an alcoholic and I'm a preacher. You can laugh, it's good, it's fine. And, but anyway, what that led to was, I got sober in December of 05. We got married in August of 06. And what she got was her Don Juan, I just like to leave myself that way, that now is sober and uncomfortable with himself. And now let's get married. So tell me about that. Here's the way I said that is, you married me with my addiction.
What time is it? No, all kidding aside though, I brought my own baggage into the relationship too as well. I had been single for a long time and raised my children by myself, and that creates a environment of you don't trust anyone, right? Trusting someone, especially a man, right?
With the past.
With the past. Because the truth is, though, even though he woke up on December 27th and said to me, I'm not going to drink anymore, it was relief for me because I was already starting to question. Like I was starting to question the relationship when I'd get in the car and I'd see beer cans, crushed and in the back seat of the car and things like that. Or he'd get to the house before we were going to go play, 18 rounds of golf and he's already, halfway there, drunk. And so I started questioning these things and started wondering, do I really want to go down this road again? And God knew better than we did, right? Because I never had to say anything to him because that's the other thing. No one's going to quit drinking. No one's going to quit abusing you. Nobody's going to quit doing drugs until they want to do it, right? They want to do it. And I had already been down this road before, so there was no reason for me to say anything to him about it. He needed to figure that out, and I needed to do what I needed to do for myself. Well, I was so grateful when he said, I'm going to quit drinking. Now, although I did a lot of drugs when I was younger, and I'm saying when I was younger, I mean in high school, because by the time that I was pregnant with my first child, I was not doing drugs. So I do not have that addictive personality. Like for me, I can drink a glass of wine and not have another one for, 2 or 3 weeks. It doesn't work like that for him. So here we are trying to create this relationship. I'm trying to support him while he's not drinking, not knowing, really what to do here because you can't do it for somebody else. Right. They've got to do it. But you can be supportive. And I was very supportive. I quit drinking for him. I was the DD, the designated driver, for my bachelorette party. That's not a joke. I really was.
She didn't want it to be around me in case it made me feel uncomfortable or whatever. Those first few years are tough.
Yeah.
And then it gets a little easier.
Easier.
That meant a lot to me.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So it started, well, he didn't know who he was. So here I was, a person, I did know who I was. You know, I've been by myself for a long period of time. I knew how to be by myself. I knew how to pay the bills. I knew how to make money by myself. I knew how to do all this. But I didn't know how to support him other than what I was doing.
Yeah. And yeah, it is. So, I mean, 1 out of 10 of us, you know, and we'll never know a lot of times, which is fine, or we do let each other into our weird little worlds. But 1 out of 10 of us have this thing that you can't just have one. You know, if 6 is good, 12 is better. And it's like that with everything. It's this appetite, you know what I'm saying? And it's weird because why could one brain be like, nah, glass 2 wine and I'm straight. And me like, once it turns on, it's like more. It's just the disease of one more. And I used to think it was a curse, but you know what? You remove that alcohol or fill in the blank, gambling or food or sex or prescription meds or rage. I mean, all those things produce dopamine. You remove that, and the flip side of that is a nature that just wants more out of life, more out of a relationship, more out of, you know, just more. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. If it's a matter of, bless you, it's a matter of what we're going to be hooked on or what we're going to worship, not if. I mean, we're made that way, right? So anybody out there that's one of the 10, God bless you, man. And I just want you to know if you don't have anybody to talk to, you can reach out to me. You know what I'm saying? Because I've been there, and I know what it feels like when you just want that thing. And so anyway, so then I go into this phase of doing what I hate. It's like I'm being a mortgage banker. Do I look like a mortgage banker? You know, insurance, real estate, like dressing all weird. Just like when she says I didn't know who I was, I didn't know who I was because I had my whole identity was the preacher. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I loved that. I did it well. Man, I had success. It was like my identity. But see, the soul has no identity. The ego does, right? The soul has gifts, and I had stumbled into my gift and got to do it, which is a real blessing. If you can find passion and bring it into your profession, it's not work anymore. You know what I'm saying? There's purpose. You want passion in your life, find purpose in what you do. Be mindful. I don't care what it is. You know, find purpose in it, and it becomes a calling. And so I was stumbling in and out of that, but I was sober, so I didn't even have that. It's like you give up your best friend, and when it doesn't work anymore. And so I was dying to get back to what God called me to do. So I shared with you about how I prayed the prayer. If you ever let me preach the word again, I'll go to the ones that nobody wants to go to. I said the least of these, the harassed and helpless. And I did name them: hungry, thirsty, naked, stranger, sick, and prisoner. And I had preached about the sheep and the goats. Boy, I could make you cry, you know what I'm saying? And then lift you up and run through a wall. But I had never been a part of the least of these ministry. I didn't understand the power of the least of these. And so I prayed that prayer, and then I forgot about it and just went on with life. And sometimes if you're praying and you're like a little discouraged tonight because God knows I need this, and he just always says no or not yet, you know, sophisticated ways we describe how we feel. We think he ain't listening. Yes, no, or not yet. We know what to say, but that don't work when it's something that's life or death. And so 3 years after I prayed it, 2008, he brings this kingdom kid into my life who's all grown up and become an MS-13 gang leader. If anybody knows about gangs, MS-13 is the worst that it gets. And he threw him into my life, and I started mentoring this 25-year-old man that I used to mentor when he was 12. But he was in big boy trouble and a gang-related murder and a potential death penalty. And I just started fighting for Luis. That's all I was trying to do. And God was like, he had his finger going. And he's like, I'm going to do things that you haven't even asked me to do. Why? Because I love when someone cares about the least of these. Love it. You want to fan your flame? Do that. And so now, kind of shifting into the next phase of life, we've been married for a minute now, and our relationship was not healthy because when I stopped drinking, my ability for intimacy went away. That was the great lubricant, you know what I'm saying, to make you wise and take away inhibitions. Well, because of some of the things that happened when I was young, I had some major walls up that are, you know, some people have that experience too in that area. It might not be your fault, but it is your problem. That wasn't me. It ain't my fault. Well, it's my problem. There's no intimacy without alcohol. And so she's kind of living in this loveless marriage, but dig her, love her, just don't know how to connect. And that's hard, trying to quit drinking and then trying to do that. But then I found my passion when I went into my first prison. And it was those brothers behind the wire in that dangerous max security prison that led to 100 prisons around the world. They changed my life, and I found what would become the other woman. My ministry became the other woman. And I wondered why she didn't dig the other woman. You know what I'm saying? It's like everybody else was cheering me on, and I'm going literally around the world, and I'm going into cartel prisons, and I'm all this stuff, and I'm leaving her at home by herself, all alone. She was lonely while I was out conquering the world, and I was on my way to failing again, which I don't know where I'd have gone after that. But when you can just kind of share if you want about when I was saying God, family, business, but God and business were the same, and then it came family, and you were kind of withering on the vine.
Withering is not the right word, really. We really became like two ships in the night. You know, the more that he was gone from home, the more I wanted him gone from home. Because, you know, he would come home and all this, you know, everything had already been done at home. I had done everything already. I didn't need him coming in and telling me what to do or what shows to watch on TV or what to cook or what to clean or, you know, any of this. I didn't need any of that anymore. Just go away. That's how bad it became. And I would say, how many weeks, how many days, like, out of a month, he might be home, 8 days out of a month when you were chasing that dream? Something like that, probably. And so you can see, you know, it's kind of like when you have a best friend and you're not seeing your best friend anymore, right? It's hurtful, right? And so the hurt starts becoming what? Resentment, right? Okay? And so the more that he left, the more I wanted him gone, the more that I wanted him home, and the more I resented him. And so into 2016, well, my mother had a stroke at the beginning of 2016, and we had to move her in with us, and I couldn't leave her. I mean, I had to sell my real estate business then, couldn't leave her at home by herself, you know, had to take her to therapy every day and all of that, and it is something I would do again in a heartbeat. But she lived with us for about 8 months. And after we got her back healthy and she moved back into her own house and everything, him and I looked at each other and we just said, let's get a divorce. You know, this isn't working. We're not together. We're not even, you know, communicating hardly anymore. Let's just
stopped fighting.
Yeah, we had stopped fighting completely. Yeah, completely stopped fighting. And so we decided, okay, yeah, we'll get a divorce. It's going to be very amicable. We decided on the attorney and everything that we were going to use. And I guess we sat on it for, about a week? You know, it took about a week. And then we said, this is really ridiculous. We love each other. We know that we do love each other. And at one time we were, you know, best friends. We've just got to get that back. And that was everything changed. Yep.
So you're praying, Jesus says, do you want to get well? It's like, yes, absolutely. Stupid question. Of course I want to be well. And it's like, where does it hurt? Like, what do you want me to do for you? Second question. It's my marriage, but I don't think it's possible. It's too far gone. You ever feel like that about a part of your life? It's too far gone. It's like I've tried. I'm just going to limp into heaven with that thing. It is what it is. whether you call it a thorn or whatever. And so we didn't want to give it up, but we didn't know how to do it.
Right.
It's like, how do we be intimate? Now, I'm going to share my opinion on something. This is not a thus saith the Lord kind of thing. My conviction is it was on me to start the change, period. It wasn't on her. It was me. And first I had to get honest about what the problem was. I had all these reasons why, no, baby, blah, 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 blah. And I had all these good excuses for why I wasn't doing this. Why didn't I make her feel that? Why didn't I allow us to, do this? And the bottom line was I was selfish and I was lazy. I mean, that was it. You believe that? And it was freeing when I was like, oh, man, I can repent of selfish and lazy. But it's like if you walk 20 miles into the woods and turn around, are you out of the woods? No, you got 20 miles to walk back out. And that would be the next 6 years of my life. It was turning around. And so if you're praying, make me well, what do you want me to do for you? I want you to heal my marriage. Do you believe I'm able to do this? Nah, I'm struggling with that. I've already screwed this up. I know what this is. It's too far gone. Dead on arrival. And he's like, let me worry about that. And so I'm doing a gig up at the University of Georgia, about an hour and a half away from home. I'm literally about to walk on and do the gig, and my phone rings, and Terry's crying because our beloved dog, Bogey, had just died. He was 10. He wasn't sick. He went to sleep, and she's in tears. 99 times out of 100, I would normally say, baby, as soon as I get done with this gig, I'll be there. And probably would have been understood, but you had gotten used to that. And I didn't even think about it. I was like, I will be right there. And I went to my son, who happened to be at UGA. We were starting our little pop club. I said, you got it, buddy. And he goes, what do you mean? You do it. Do what? I mean, it was my message. I said, figure it out. And I got in the car, and I split, and I sped home, and we mourned together. And that was the beginning of the turn. But it took our little Bogey, man. And so in a very real way, Bogey gave his life for us. It brought us together and we mourned, and that was the beginning. But it wasn't like when you repent, do you ever just want it to be right away? I repented. Come on, baby. Hey, forgive me. You know what I'm saying? Can you forgive me? And then it becomes all about you. You need to forgive. The Bible says, you know what I'm saying? Don't you mock me. You know it. Some of y'all have been there before. It's like you need to work on this about grace. It's like now, you ain't done jack. All I did was turn around in the woods. And now it's like, hey, 20 miles, Jack. It's time to do everything that she has always wanted, period, point blank. No more excuses and no more, no more excuses.
No, but, here's the key with that right there is actually I didn't trust him, right? I didn't trust him with my heart whatsoever. So when I called to tell him that Bogey is dead, that really what I expected was, I'll be home in about 4 hours after I get finished doing what I'm doing, because that was what he was doing. And for me, if I'm going to say it's God family business, how am I going to lead my life? It's going to be God family business. And I never put business in front of that. But I learned that lesson a long, long time ago. That was a lesson that I learned for myself many, many years. In just like I couldn't tell him to stop drinking, I couldn't tell him to learn that lesson either. He had to learn that on his own. And then I had to learn how to trust him again. I had to learn how to let go of my suspicions, I had to also learn how to, oh, here he goes again. Oh, he's going to do this again. Oh, you're lying to me again. Oh, you're not going to be home in an hour like you told me, right? So all of those things. So every time that started happening in my head, I had to, reach out to God and say, take those thoughts away from me. Help me to see him the way that you see him, right?
Huge. You start praying that every day for your spouse, for your boyfriend, girlfriend, for your best friend, for your kids. Help me see, think about how huge that is. Help me see her the way you see her. Because how do we see each other a lot of times? The longer we've been around, we know what we like, we know what we don't like. You know what I'm saying? This I love, this irritates me. or this weakness is, that resentment can turn into bitterness. And once it's bitterness, it's like I called the attorney and said, run it back. It's time again. But I said, all I can do is my side of the street. And so I started changing. And it was the pandemic that set us free. When the governor of Georgia said, on March 12th, 2020, go to the grocery store and buy 2 weeks worth of groceries. 2 weeks, man. And then we were literally quarantined. And, we were quarantined. We couldn't go anywhere. And so now this is, for people that have beautiful kids at home, God bless you. We're going to talk about the principles of what brought us back as we kind of head down the home stretch here. But I know the things that we did are not possible for everybody, but there's versions of it that are possible. And so we got ridiculously intentional. And what I figured out was, okay, I've been preaching love languages. Everybody knows love languages, right? It's a killer book. But anyway, it's the principle I like. So is it physical touch or quality time or acts of service or gifts or, what's the other one?
Words of encouragement.
Words of encouragement. See, mine have always been words of encouragement and service. Serve me and encourage me, and I will run through the wall, right? And hers are physical touch and quality time all day long. And so I was, the premise, you're speaking a language and it's just going over the head because it's not how they receive love. And so I made a commitment and I started praying about, help me fall in love with everything she loves. And what she loves is designing the house and gardening and cooking and, walking the dogs and art. It's just all these things. And I was always like, baby, I don't want to go to Home Depot. Or, man, why are we trying to garden? Why don't we pay somebody to do that? We don't do that. Walking, I don't know, babe. Let's just, it was like everything that she loved to do, I had excuses for why I didn't do that. Baby, I just don't cook. Trust me. And they were all just, now I go back to what was the problem? Selfishness and laziness. And I'm asking her to trust that when I'm not putting the things she loves above my own. So guess what? I didn't think this was possible. But speaking her love language long enough made me have her love languages. Now my love language is physical touch and quality time all day long. So it wasn't like
and words of encouragement all day long.
Which, good night. We enjoyed. No, but we do be mindful of time. But we'd be remiss. The other thing that she married is my fascinating brain. And so people often have asked, man, how can you do that crazy stuff? Like, man, some of my favorite memories are like in a cartel prison and, down in South African prison or Ukrainian prison around Honduras down there with the 13s. It was just like, but a lot of that comes from the brain he gave me. Those come a lot of times when I'm manic. And mania makes you 10 feet tall and bulletproof. You're Superman. Like every idea is a good one. And you do not pump the brakes ever. It's like, great idea, make a move. You know what I'm saying? Which, again, turned out to be, on the flip side of it, it's like a train wreck. I mean, you guys have heard the word that you'll never, ever, ever forget about me, even though if you love me to death and fully accept me as a brother, you'll see me in 40 years, and the word that'll pop into your head is bipolar. It will, because it's got so much weight attached to it. You know what I'm saying? And I decided, I'm not being real. Now, if you struggle with addiction, don't go blast from the rooftops. I don't think that works for a lot of people. It does for me. And if you struggle with all of us struggle with some things, but if your thing has a label on it, you don't got to tell anybody. That's you. For me, it was cathartic, and it released, my shame around these things. And so, but she never signed up for that. And so I'm out there. That's why I'm charging around the world, but then.
He bought a church without my knowledge.
We got a great deal, though. That's so true. It is. There's no idea's a bad one. And so, anyway, but the downside, we call it the mountaintop and the valley. And when the Bible says that God will give you, if you do it his way, a suitable helper, she's so much more than a suitable helper. In a real way, she does manage me, and I allow her to. It's like one of the secrets of our marriage is we understand one another's strengths. And go ahead and let the person do the thing that they love and are good at. And so a lot of things she's so good at, I'm terrible at. And so she takes care of me in so many ways. And I adore her for that. I mean, she understands me better than anybody on the planet. Probably mom is second. I'm a mama's boy. But anyway, there's been challenges with that because when I come down to the valley, mine's not get in bed and don't come out. Mine is a very irritable, kind of like, what'd you do that for? Kind of a paranoid, irritable, anxious, kind of sometimes ready for a fight when there's no fight there. You see what I'm saying? So we had to start working in our lives on routines that help me. These routines that we have, they make me comfortable and they make me kind. And it's something that I rely on. I mean, routines are very imperative to people that, have a fascinating brain like I do. But I can't. We started getting tight. You don't just pray for intimacy. And intimacy is emotional and mental and physical and spiritually. It's two literally become one. And you know everything about the other person and you love them still. Warts and thorns and everything. You know what I'm saying? It's all in. I never did that. She helped me learn how to do this because she's so freaking real. But we've had to establish routines to keep us so intimacy could grow. Tell them about our routines.
Well, anyways, there's so much that, really we could spend a whole week with y'all and explain so many things and dive into so many different things. And the truth of the matter is, too, although God picked me to be his helper, God also picked him to be my helper. So it goes hand in hand, He helps me in so many ways because, like you said, I'm a fighter. Like, don't look at me the wrong way. I'm not even joking. I'm 5'1" and weigh, 110 pounds, but look at me the wrong way and you're going to know you looked at me the wrong way. My dad instilled that in me. My dad instilled, don't ever let anybody take advantage of you. Don't ever, and so he instilled me into being this tough woman that I know if anything is going to happen, I have to make it happen with the help of God, right? And I would not be able to be here today if it wasn't for you and all the things that you've created for me in my life and the way that you manage me, right? Because there's times when I get so mad at our kids, right? I'm about to just send them a text right now and just let them have it, And he's like, honey, calm down. All right, think about this for a minute or so. And he's right. Because after the day, in a couple hours, I'm like, oh, I'm not going to write them a letter. I'm not going to text them. Yeah, okay, maybe I need to figure out a different way to go about doing that, right? So he's my yin to my yang, and I'm his yang to his yin, or however you want to say it. But we were truly meant for one another. Some of the things that we started putting in place with our marriage is our phone. Our phone is the number one thing. And our phone goes to silent at 7 o'clock every single day. And the only people that can get a hold of us is our family, right? But anybody else that calls us after 7, it's going to go to voicemail. And we don't sit there and scroll and look on Facebook. We're not sitting there and scrolling and looking on Instagram. We're not allowed.
What are you doing in there?
It's not. Yeah, it's not allowed.
Nothing. Like it's forbidden.
Yeah. And it is forbidden. But I will tell you, it has changed our relationship so much for the better because now we're leaning on each other for our entertainment instead of something that isn't even supposed to be our entertainment. Right. You know what I mean? It just really isn't. And we all have them and we all rely on them. Okay, so that's one thing that we put into place. We walk every single day. So when we get home from work, we grab our dogs and we take a walk, and that's us just kind of relaxing with one another and telling each other about our day.
We can talk about work on the walk with the dog.
That's right. That's the only
deliberate to
time.
Go ahead and, how was your day? How was mine?
Get it out of the way because we know something's going to happen. And then we're really good with each other when we are talking about something we shouldn't be talking about. The other one will remind it. And we're good enough to each other go, oh, you're right. You know, that's hard too, saying, oh, you're right. You know, learn those words. Oh, you're right. That could really
It
help.
goes like this. You're right, I'm wrong, I'm sorry. You're right, I'm wrong, I'm sorry. But it was, you know, it's very intentional. It's like, have you ever let the work day just mingle all the way into the evening or just get lost on the phones and just separate it totally or whatever? And so after 7 o'clock, no business, no phones. We go on the walk with the dogs, we get it all out, and then we come back and we start cooking.
I cook. He will help.
Sous chef is a little bit, you know, embellished.
But he's learning and he's trying.
That just sounds sad, doesn't it? He's learning, he's trying. But you don't understand. She is a freaking ninja guru when it comes to throwing. She like won a Better Homes and Gardens recipe contest. You didn't win it. You got general.
I did win.
What do you call it? Honorable mention.
I won that category.
Yeah, she got it like that. And she loves cooking, and I get to eat it. And like every night. And so we turn on music, and she does her thing, and maybe I'm involved or I'm just talking. And then we eat a meal together always. And then I have to clean the kitchen every time. Like, I work on my craft. I mean, I've gotten real good at that. I might not can cook, but I can clean.
He's a good cleaner.
Okay, while I'm cleaning.
I go and run a bath.
Yep.
Yep. And then we take a bath together every single solitary night. It is.
Try to stop us, man. There ain't no way. And this is, no, I mean, it is. Some of you are like,
Sometimes I
it's,
want some private time for myself, but
and I get offended. I'm like, oh, you got to take it by yourself? Like, she's like, get hurt, you know what I'm saying? But, I mean, we do little candles and put on Sade or something, and it's not, is it romantic? Of course it is, but it's designed to completely just relax and let the day go. And so that, we're still having conversations, but they're not about business, and, you know what I'm saying? They're just, we're kind of connecting. And then after that, then we have our shows. We usually have like a movie or whatever, and
watch baseball.
yep, she's come a long way in that. And so, and then, you know, by the end of the night, you know, it's like, but that, now, are there exceptions? Yes, but here's the difference. If I have to go out of town, like on business, and she can't come, we will make that decision before I ever say yes to the gig or whatever it is. I never did that. I would literally say, babe, I'm going to Ukraine, and want her to be excited. I'm going.
I'm leaving, you know, next week to go to Ukraine into Russia. I'm like, huh? What?
I broke my shoulder, and 4 days later, I went to Tijuana, Mexico. No, that was like the Mexican prison tour. Like even against everybody's warnings. It's like I was off the hook. I mean, it wasn't good. So anyway, after that intentional living, and see, there are elements of that everybody can do, whether it's babies, you know, little ones, grown, whatever it is. There are ways to create an atmosphere for intimacy. They don't have to be our ways. Just be intentional. Because we created so much space for cool things to happen, we just couldn't help but get closer and closer. And then when we do, you know, need to fight, hopefully it's a fight that's worth fighting. If it's not, we have a code word. Like if you ever get in one of them little snap fights, like, yeah, he did. No, he didn't. Yeah, he did. No, he didn't. It was on Tuesday at 10 o'clock. No, it wasn't. And you can't look it up on Google to prove your point. And so, and then we just have our little code word, which is Lotus. Either one of us goes, Lotus. We're like,
yeah. About a month ago.
yeah, he said, y'all should say Lotus. Our grandson said that. But it's the snap us out of it and go, that this is a stupid fight. And the other one has to obey. You're not allowed to go, Lotus my butt. You're not allowed to do that. Sorry, bro. I promised I wasn't going to cuss. So,
But you also, though, with that being said, is I lost my point now. It went right out of my head.
Lotus?
Yeah, Lotus, but, you cannot, in the middle of the fight, you've got to be fighting about what you're fighting about. You can't fight about what happened 2 weeks ago or what happened a year ago or what happened 3 years ago, right? You've got to stick to what you're fighting about, and fight fair.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because there's absolutely nothing wrong with fighting. Absolutely nothing wrong with fighting. It's like we said, when we quit fighting was when it was over.
Yeah. Fight fair.
Yeah, just fighting fair.
Yeah. So if there's addiction struggles, this has become my mission statement for a long time. It's when Jesus announced his mission and he came out, he said, I've come to proclaim freedom for the prisoners, release the oppressed, preach good news to the poor. I mean, those things are like the whole reason he came was oppression. That just doesn't happen to have physical or political oppression from a nation. It's just like oppressed. You're squeezed by life. And he said, I'm coming, that I can give you freedom from that. You don't have to be behind the razor wire to be a prisoner to something. I mean, to me, a prisoner, I believe in actually, if I don't go into prison, I don't do as well, because that's the place where I get close to the Holy Spirit in a way that I can't in church or anywhere in the free world. You could find something like that gets your heart. Help me find my passion in what Jesus did. Because it doesn't have to be just the physical least of these. The sick could be mental health. And I guarantee you there's some of us that have resonated with some of the things I'm saying. If it's abuse, he'll release the prisoner. That's a jail we stay in. And it's very, very hard. These things are, why he came. And so I say it over and over. If you're the one that feels the most distant in the room from him, you're the one who's the closest to him, because that's who he comes to. I hope over this project that you've kind of been introduced to the Holy Spirit in a new way. And if not, I want to encourage you to continue to seek him. I mean, Jesus said, what father, if his son asked for bread or fish, would give him a snake? He said, and then he just says something totally different, he said, how much more will he give to the Holy Spirit to those who ask him? Think about that. Is it like, well, I've already got it? I'm talking about a fresh, new relationship with the Spirit, that he's real. He's really, really real. And what we did is we didn't quit when we were on the verge of quitting. We decided we were willing to do whatever it takes, and nothing more. Whatever it takes, we're willing to do. We care about each other that much. We got very intentional about reconciling, and that means and this is so, so true, I accept her exactly the way she is, whether she changes or not. You got that? She accepts me with my fascinating brain and my addictive nature, and just talk about somebody that never stops talking. I never stop talking, like ever. And so she's married to that. Like today on the drive up, I'm like, she's so quiet. She's over there kind of asleep, and I'm just like, I don't know why you're doing it. I mean, I'm driving 4 hours and you're not even, I'm just talking all the time. She's got to put up with that kind of stuff. But the Holy Spirit, we share, this beautiful Spirit that wants to do the best thing for you. Everything that you're praying is yes in Christ Jesus. It's not a matter of if. I don't believe it's yes, no, or not yet. I think it's yes, 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 yes. You just don't know how I'm going to do it. It was a dog dying. You know what I'm saying? It was a pandemic. It was a commitment by the husband to love her fully. And I took this very, very seriously. It was like an epiphany. And it was like, she's never been loved right by a man.
Except for my father.
That's true. And I'm talking about, you were absolutely, she got absolutely. So that's why she's looking for a man to love her in that way, because she had a good example as a father. And I decided, man, I'm going to be the guy who loves her the way she deserves to be loved. Protect her, make her feel safe, make her feel adored and admired and desired. That's my job. So she gets a special gift every month, and she doesn't know when it's coming. This one came 3 days ago, didn't it? And it's something special that makes her feel pretty. And that's kind of fun. She looks forward to it. She didn't know when it's coming. And so, brothers, get very, very intentional. And I'm sorry I laid this all out in front of your spouse. My bad, bros. But make it your own. You know, this is art. It's art. And just love them. Final thoughts?
What's that?
She's speechless. What?
You gotta love each other for who you are, faults and all.
Yeah, it's
Faults and
all together, and pray to see the other one the way that God sees, and you'll start noticing things you've been missing, especially those of us that have been around the sun more times and been married more time than a lot of people, or been married multiple times. This is real.
One of the things that I'll end with this. So, one of the things that we do is we really kind of make each other do better than the other one on purpose. Like it's a game. It's a contest. Like, for example, this past Christmas, we typically will say, do not buy each other a gift this year. We've got the kids to buy for. Just, let's make her got the grandbabies and everybody else. Don't. And he'll always come with something. Always, always, always. And it always blows my mind. And I never, ever would imagine, that I was getting things like the things that he's given me. So this past Christmas, I made it my mission to outdo him.
And we even made it a contest. Whoever gives the best Christmas present gets whatever they want.
And I haven't gotten that yet because I haven't decided what it is I want. But I won the contest.
All right.
I won the contest. I got him tickets for New Year's Eve for the Chick-fil-A Bowl last year.
Semifinals, Georgia and Ohio State.
Yeah. So I won the contest, right?
And a steak dinner beforehand at the best steak restaurant.
But I won the contest, right?
Yeah, you won the contest.
Y'all heard it. So now my trip to Jamaica is getting booked tomorrow. I got all of y'all witnesses.
Honey, I meant whatever you want spiritually. All right, we're gonna leave you with this. Okay, so the beautiful woman who was suffering for 12 years. We suffered for 12 years. And then we begged to be able to touch him and to go on his power. And then the rest, has it been hard? Yeah, it took me 3 years to win her trust back. It wasn't like did good for a month. And it's not like she had this big thing. It was just a general. She needed me to fight for her. And I did for 3 years. And then all of a sudden, boom. The last 3 years have just, it's gotten better and better. But I'll leave you with this. And the brothers, I'm going to apologize ahead of time. So anyway, Terry started going through some problems with her back and her neck. I mean, was really experiencing things. Like we had to rule things out and everything. And so, I had this idea. Pray for ideas. Holy Spirit, give me ideas that I haven't thought of. Give me something today. I mean, something. And so I got my idea, and so anyway, I said, hey, you've got a special gift coming. And she goes, I know. And I went, oh, no, special one. And I said, does UPS leave the package in the mailbox, or will they put it on the front porch? And so what I was doing was I was getting her thinking it was small. And so it came, and I brought it in, and it was big, and she says, what in the world is that? And it was a massage table. I didn't hear one brother say a thing. And so she did what she does, and she went ham. And we took the grandson's room that used to be Spider-Man. We took all that stuff out, and we made a spa. I'm talking about it is just, you go in that room, and it's the Zen room, man. And it's just like, and so here. All these candles, stars that go up on the ceiling. So we did what we did. But here's where I learned it, and this is what I will leave you with. My father, my dad, God bless him, we had a very complicated relationship. And he never got the alcohol thing. You know, he never was able to overcome it. And his life ended young at 52. I was in college. And so that's been a really tangled up part of my, you know, relationship. I've had to get right from the other side. We never did when he was alive. And so, anyway, that was hard. My mom got remarried within a few years of when my dad passed. And she got the kindest man that she deserved because she went through a lot. And my dad did the best he could in a lot of ways, but it was very hard on my mom, 30 years. And then he died. And then God gave her another man. Didn't replace my dad, just a new season. And he was kind and gentle and humble. And he treats my mom like a queen. And I am a mama's boy. We talk almost every day. She works with us, part of the family biz. And so anyway, he gives her a massage every single morning at 8:30. I'm talking about years and years. It's every single day at 8:30, no matter what. And I was like, why? And he said, I read somewhere that daily massages will extend your life, and I want your mother to live for a very long time. And I'm like, holy goodness. So I haven't gotten to daily yet, but what, about 3 a week? Something like that?
I get about 3 a week. Yeah.
There you go. We feel like we're family. I hope we are. And we've just kind of bared our soul. If you'd like more of this, really, you can go to Kit Cummings on YouTube, and you can hear a lot of episodes of podcasts of our family. Our oldest is a veteran, former sniper, 4 battle tours, just a mysterious BA, and his family, 3 grandsons. Our daughter lives in Vermont, married to her beautiful wife. Our oldest from my previous is Cole, and he's a musician and a comedian and an actor, and he's a trip. Jiu-jitsu, yeah, he runs our marketing team, and our daughter is like a little hippie free spirit. Save the world revolutionary. That's her. We are a reality TV show, so join us. But anyway, James, brother, I can't say enough. Thank you so much for allowing us to be a part of your family.